voice can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to a live breaking news edition of the Pod at the Palace. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. Fortunately, I guess, after all, I am not on the road with Andrew and John as they head up to Omaha. I'm going there in a few days, and frankly, I'm glad that I'm home at the moment. We have an unscheduled live stream, which means something cool happened in Arkansas basketball land. In this case, it's because Arkansas has added another piece to the puzzle for next season's roster. Interestingly enough, we've been anticipating this coming soon. But the plot twist here, as you're aware of, if you were able to listen to this morning's Pod at the Palace, is that we're not talking about Russian forward Igor Razorbacks today, at least. Instead, we're talking about Arkansas and John Calipari gaining the commitment of Bosnian big man Elmir Dzafic, whose name surfaced Wednesday afternoon, and then boom, Jonathan Givony released the commitment just a few minutes ago. Always a good thing, I think, when Givony is announcing your roster additions. So there you have it. And folks, we're live here, so get your chats in, get your reactions in. We'll talk about this edition, what it means for Arkansas, what it looks like moving forward, and then we'll get into your chat a little bit later. By the way, we are not using the term big man lightly here. I mean, Dzafic is an absolute monster, just a monster. 19 years old, I think, and Givony's tweet said that. He actually may have just turned 20. I don't know. I've looked in multiple different places just to find more information on this young man, and I have seen his birthday listed as January. I've seen it listed as June, and I've seen it listed as September. So I don't know, 19, 20, whatever. Age is just a number anyway, right? But he stands at 7 feet tall, weighs 265 pounds. That's a unit. That's a big fella right there. I absolutely love it. He is a center by trade, in case you couldn't tell by the size of this guy. Burst onto the scene and made a name for himself playing on the in FIBA, in the U18s on the Bosnian national team about a year and a half ago, and he absolutely dominated the event down there. And that's where scouts started to take attention. Eyebrows were raised, and it's like, yo, who is this dude? And I think he played in about 8 games that summer with FIBA, averaged a double-double, 13.2 points, 10.4 rebounds, an assist and a half per game, which is good for a center. Shot at 61% from the field. So he really, really turned some heads there. And hey, more recently here, he's been playing in the Adriatic League, which is, you've probably heard that if you're a Pod at the Palace listener, at least, or if you've just been paying attention to the landscape of college basketball, because frankly, 2/3 of that league, it feels like, has been, leaving, departing, getting poached, whatever you want to call it. And they're playing college basketball next season. I think Brad Underwood and half of Illinois' roster is from the Adriatic League going into next year, but a bunch of guys from that league. It's really, really good over there. He's been playing in it 3 years professionally now for Elmer in this super, super competitive league. As a 17-year-old, he had graduated high school and he was playing, double-digit minutes per game for Budućnost Beljanžina, which is just one of the teams over there in the Adriatic League, the second division. And the last 2 years, he's been playing on a much, much better team. The most historic Bosnian professional team, as far as I can tell, KK Bosna, as a role player over there. So, hey, listen, if you look at his statistics from that particular league, he's not putting up crazy numbers or anything like that, right? But simply getting a roster spot at that age in this league is a testament to your talent and your potential. Similar to Igor, he's a super young prospect who pretty much dominates in his age group, and then he's playing in a league with guys who are 5 to 10 years older than him, who are career pros over there, or former college players who've already played 4 years and were maybe undrafted free agents or whatever. So he's getting a lot of really good experience. And Dzafic, he isn't even draft eligible, at least according to the Eurobasket profile, until 2027. So he does profile as a multi-year guy here for the Razorbacks. So we'll see, just how quickly he can make the adjustment and contribute in the SEC at Arkansas. That's always a thing. There's always a learning curve, culturally and just in terms of the way that the game is played. It's very different in Europe as opposed to, the way that it is in the SEC. And I think the big adjustment, and we'll look at some film here in a couple minutes. the big adjustment for him is going to be the speed and the athleticism, I think, of the college game. But man, he already possesses some coveted traits there. 7 foot 265. And if you watch him, you ain't moving this dude in the paint. I mean, good luck trying to do that. Anybody in the SEC, anybody anywhere, he is a load in there. Somebody in the Discord called him the Bosnian bulldozer, and I've seen that a few times already here in the chat. I like that. I love that. I think that's the perfect nickname here. I've seen a lot of people say, Big E or whatever, and that could work too. Bosnian bulldozer is going to be hard to beat for sure. Very, very strong, back to the basket type of big man at this point, who really knows how to establish position. He seals off really, really well. He can move bodies around in the paint. He's one of those guys that just, you try to box him out and you're not moving him. And then all of a sudden he's got you pushed up under the rim and he's getting an offensive rebound, powerful dunker of the basketball. But he's got some skill too around the bucket. Everything for him, for the most part right now, is going to be right there around the rim. But, he does a really good job of, getting a post entry in there on the block, and he can feel pressure and react accordingly. He knows which way to pivot, which way to spin. He's not a one-trick pony in there, and he's got some soft touch, particularly over his left shoulder. So there's a lot of things to like there. He's also, as we mentioned, in the FIBA league there, he had over 1.5 assists per game, a pretty good passer at his size as well. He can field a double team and kick out of that. A guy who can, seal off and receive a high-low pass, or if he catches at the top of the key, he can get it there too. So I really, really like it. And honestly, guys, listen, is Elmer going to come in here, year one and in November, is he going to be playing over Malik Ewan and Nick Pringle? I don't think so. Okay. I don't think that's where we're at with this. Hey, if he does, then you're all the better for it. Right. But at the bare minimum, this is exactly what I've been begging John Calipari to do, right? Which go out and get Kenny Payne, a young, talented big man with 2 ears that he can whisper into, because I'm tired of hearing about Arkansas having the big man guru and not having him a big man to develop. So this is great. I absolutely love it. It blew me away last season. I got it to a degree because they got a late start and all that, right? And I asked to talk to the team. There was no team. We remember all the sound bites there. But Arkansas had 2 big men and Trevin, essentially. And had all the injuries that they dealt with, and then they made it to this point. I mean, we're mid-June here, and you're looking at that roster, and you're going, well, they've got 2 big men and Trevin, right? And so they were kind of doing the same thing. And so as we were talking about it, we felt like Arkansas was going to make an addition into the front court. They were probably going to go the international route. And we really hoped that was going to be the case, because otherwise, if you're talking about having more depth, it's like, all right, well, at least for right now, Malik Ewan and Nick Pringle are healthy. So you're better off than you were last year when, Jonas was hobbled most of the season. Z had the different things that he dealt with, and also the inconsistency. But now, again, at a minimum, you have more depth. You have an insurance policy. You have a body that's not a graduate assistant to bang with in practice and push you. And that's a big, big part of this. Honestly, they added to the back end of the roster with that handful of guys last year who were practice players. And Elmer's, he's better than that. Do not get me wrong. Like, he is a significant level up from that. But it was literally 2 graduate assistants that Jonas and Z and TB were practicing against every day. I hope those guys were paid well. Sometimes GAs, they get like, hey, you can have student housing, we'll pay for your master's degree or whatever. You can have a meal plan. But if I'm getting, beat up on by SEC post players every day, I hope you're taking care of me, like a little cash on the side or something. I mean, they call him PayPal Cal for a reason. Take care of those young men, because that's crazy work. Well, now you have a 7 foot, 265 pound monster who's going to make Nick Pringle and Malik Ewan and Trevin better in practice every day. And he's going to get better going up against those guys every single day. So I like it a lot. And this is also a guy who's been playing professionally. He understands the game. He knows how to be coached. He knows how to act like an adult. All of those things are good for you. And I look at it as, let's see where he's at and how quickly he makes the adjustment here. But at the same time, now you have someone who can cut his teeth, early in the season when you're blowing out these teams, right? And, in some of these games that Arkansas is going to play in, and heck, the non-conference schedule is absolutely loaded. So there is that aspect of it. But, when you're up 20-25 on somebody in the last several minutes of a game, it would be nice to not have to give those extended minutes to Nick Pringle or to Malik Ewan. Being able to not have to do that is how you extend them and how you get through the grind of an entire season, right? Because you don't think so much of it in the moment. It's like, oh, whatever, he played 33 minutes, 34 minutes against North Carolina A&T. But when that's 25 or 27, by the end of the year, you're taking multiple games off of those legs, and you're just a little bit fresher for it down the stretch. And the more experience a guy like Elmer gets early in the year, the better off you're going to be come crunch time. Or if, heaven forbid, knock on wood, do your voodoo dance, whatever, that it doesn't happen. But if you have, for whatever reason, some injury, or, somebody misses a little bit of time, or the flu bug goes through the team again, you at least have you have an option that you can turn to. And it's a very large man who's been playing professional basketball overseas. So I like it. I'm happy with it. We'll see how quickly he adapts and settles into the college game. Now, does this take Arkansas out of the running for, Egor Rizov, or does it mean that they're not pursuing him anymore, or whatever? And we talked about this a little bit on the pod at the Palace this morning, but guys, right now, I don't have really any reason to believe that that Arkansas pivoted away from Egor to land Dzafic instead. And I know it could feel that way because it was yesterday morning when, we're starting to, we're trying to get more information about like, what's the holdup here with our Russian Razorback, like what's going on. And he's got to work through the visa stuff and, the eligibility and the enrollment, like, there's a lot of hurdles to cross over here. And then a few hours later, Elmir Dzafic comes out of nowhere, right? And it's like, this Arkansas is in deep here. So it would be easy to connect those dots and be like, I guess they've moved on. Don't think that's the case. And we talked about it. Two different players, two different positions with different strengths. And I think you have room and needs for both of them personally. Right. So truth be told, I hope they go ahead and get Egor across the finish line and across the pond over here to Fayetteville as well. Maybe might be a bit, right, as they work through the visas and all that stuff. But then I think if you get that done, you'd be able to look at a roster that would have the type of depth and the talent that it takes to get through the gauntlet and be in position to cut down the nets in Indianapolis. And going into the offseason, that's all I asked, right? I just feel like if you've got a coach like John Calipari with his cachet, his track record, known as an elite level recruiter, and you're at a school with the history and the tradition of the University of Arkansas basketball, right? And then you've got the money and the resources, whether it's John Tyson or whoever else, all those things combined suggest to me that bare minimum, Arkansas should have a Final Four caliber roster on paper every single year that John Calipari is here. And I think they're on their way to doing that. They're very, very close. I love it. Man, personally, and we'll watch some tape and get into the chat here in just a couple minutes. I love the potential of a lot of international flavor on the roster. I think it's really cool. I was looking at Hog Stats a little bit earlier this morning, and it looks like Dzafic is, I think he's going to be the first Bosnian player in, for the Razorbacks, but looks like about the fifth European player for Arkansas. Of course, you got Kareem Rattel this season coming in from Lebanon. You had Big Z and then Davor Rimac from Croatia, although I think Rimac finished high school in Fayetteville. I could be wrong about that. Levan Patazia from the Republic of Georgia was another one there. And then like Dionisio Gomez was originally from Panama. You have, who was it? Sunday Adebayo, Willie Kawasi, Moses Kingsley. Oh, who was the other one? Bay Fall, all originally from Africa. A couple Toronto guys, Canada guys, Gabo, Marvell Waith. So, Arkansas's had its run of international players there, but this is cool. It's a little bit different. It's unique, and I like it. There were 5, according to my research at least, 5 Bosnian-born players in Division I basketball last year. None of them were in the SEC, as far as I could tell. I think UMass, Pitt, Rice, Richmond, Tennessee, Martin all had Bosnian players on their roster there. So at any rate, I want to show these clips here. That way you guys can just get a feel of what we're dealing with here, which is a mountain of a man. Just a big old boy that's powerful. And I've got two different ones. So the first one that I want to show you guys is it's from that FIBA U18 event where he really started to pop off there. So a little bit older, a year and a half or so old, but you can kind of get a feel for why scouts were impressed by what he brought to the table. Let me see if I can pull it up here. And voila, there we go. I mean, look at that's a well put together man. At this time, he's like, 18 years old or whatever. So I wish I looked like that now, much less at 18. That's a big boy. But you see, I mean, he just had an entire adult body draped over the top of his shoulders, and he didn't even budge. He just kind of went right through him and finished there. That's strength. That's power. Here you see the back to the basket. We get the charge call. They don't take charges in the SEC anymore. Okay, there's a little face-up jumper from him, and that's not a huge part of his game right now. But you'll see, actually, I don't know if I have any clips of that or not, but I've seen him knock down a three or two here or there. It would be a very much feet still, catch and have time to gather and put it up there. I don't think it's going to be a huge part of his game. Has he made a three before? Yeah, he definitely has. What else do we have here? That's a nice little drop step. Again, that's what I'm talking about when I talk about being able to feel the pressure. When you're a back to the basket post player, they can play right behind you. They can go top side. They can go bottom side. And you've got to be able to feel the adjustment based on where they've got that arm bar on you and react accordingly. And he does a really good job with that. Some post players, before they really get a good feel for the game, they catch and they know exactly what they're doing. And sometimes they just run right into a defender. They'll dribble it off their foot. It gets a little bit awkward, but you can tell he has a good feel for that pressure and he can react accordingly. And that was a nice move, dropping baseline and finishing there. There's another one. He'll dunk on your head. I like it. Big boy. Straight into him. Look at that spin back. And then over the left shoulder off the glass. That's really tough. He likes going baseline there. Finishing over the top of somebody. Really good work. He's got the double team there. It's no big deal. That's baby food. When you're facing double teams in the SEC, it's going to be bigger guys like that. And that's where his passing comes into play. But you got a couple, little guards on you like that. Go straight through him and finish, man. I like that. There's that pass, that kick out. That's what he could do at Arkansas. If they need to bring help down on him, he can see over the top and just, skip that pass right across to the wing to a shooter. That's pretty good work. Just a little offensive read, just a little kick out there. Good pass to a cutter. Again, seeing the floor. There's the double. Found his man open for a layup. So look at these passes. And that's probably a big part of what what the scouts were seeing that they got excited about, because if I'm thinking about it and I'm watching these U18s or whatever, and I see a guy that's that size, I expect him to dominate physically the way that he is in a lot of these clips here. But when he's showing some of the subtleties and the footwork in there, and then passing and hitting cutters, that shows a lot of feel for the game and some more advanced stuff. So there's a lot for Arkansas to work here, a lot of development to be had. He's still got a lot of work to do to be ready to be a big time player in the SEC, but they've got a lot of potential here in Elmir Dzafic. I'm excited about him. Little baseline skip. Just a powerful dude here. Okay, I want to pull up this other one. Okay. And this is more recent, these clips. So these are from the 2024-2025 season there when he's playing with his Adriatic League team. Going to be more of the same. I mean, that's left hand over the right shoulder. I mean, we've had post players at Arkansas who haven't had a left hand for 4 years playing with the team. So it's good to see that. There's the little high-low action that we were talking about earlier, which you love to see. Into some DHO and then some pick and roll. I like it. Here's that three ball I was talking about. Now, like I said, it's a slow wind, right, to get that shot off there, but he did it. And honestly, early on in his career, and we'll see how much he plays right away, but people aren't going to guard him out there on the 3-point line. They're going to be hanging out there in the lane around the free throw line, just like that guy was. And so if you're able to kick back to him after some DHO action like that, and he's got time to get it off, if he makes it, enough, then it's going to force the defense to space out a little bit. And then you've got even more room for him to operate as a passer and a roll man and everything else. Strong guy, man. Dunks the basketball hard, which I appreciate. Good positioning. He does a really good job of repositioning when his guards drive, whether he's just J cutting or flattening out on the baseline. Nice little high-low action. We got here a little pick and roll. That's what I wanted to see. Pick and roll dunk. I like it. Okay. Good enough. Good enough for now. There you have it. So what do you guys think? You excited about this? I am. I really do. And I talked about it a ton because it's true. What a lot of people would say, man, there aren't going to be a whole lot of guys who are going to, go somewhere and automatically be a third big man. They can go somewhere else and play, whatever. And that's just not true. I mean, a lot of rosters across the country have depth. They have plenty. They have insurance policies, and it gives you the ability to just go through a war of attrition, which is exactly what the SEC is, And again, I don't think that he replaces what you're hoping to gain with a guy like Igor Razov, but he adds more depth and another dimension to your roster, and it makes you better for it. Igor is a guy who I think could come in and really help you and contribute in the rotation a significant amount right away. And, we've talked about him, and, it's kind of some of the open minutes you see there behind Trevin at the power forward spot, and some of the things that he does from an athletic standpoint. I think he's more ready to contribute early than our man Dzafic here, but from a strength and physicality standpoint, he's already there. He's young. You can develop the other things. And I think it's important if you're Arkansas to have guys like that. So, okay, let's get into the chat and see how everybody's feeling about all this. Big Red said, Cal is always working. Trust that. Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting how they go about their business at Arkansas, man, because, they added Nick Pringle and Malik Ewan on the same day, and they had most of their retention announcements on the same day. And, we're looking around and we're going, there's no way they're done, right? I mean, they're definitely going to add somebody else. And you wait and you wait and you wait. And like there are points in time where you're looking at it and you're going, are they even active anymore? Like, are they sleeping through portal season? Like what's really going on here? Are they really that comfortable with going with a super short bench or rotation again? And lo and behold, like not only do they add a guy here, but they're already in deep with a guy like Igor Razov. We're hearing rumblings about other potential guys overseas or internationally that they're really targeting. And so maybe that's just where they pivoted. But yeah, Big Red, you're right, man. Cal is always working. There's no doubt about that. Austin Paul says, Big Dub, Curtis got what he's been asking for. Yeah. If you listen to the Pod at the Palace even semi-regularly, you've probably gotten annoyed with me on more than one occasion over the course of the last couple months, with me freaking out about, just please add to this front court, man. If you don't want to add a sharpshooter, whatever, like you can sell me on, Malik Thomas being a sniper and Acuff being serviceable and the other guys making some improvements, and they'll be just fine there. But man, don't leave yourself vulnerable in the front court. This is a step in the right direction for sure. There we are. Mike Davis says the Bosnian bulldozer, as they say. That's a fantastic nickname. It really is. And I hope he likes that, because it needs to be coined. That honestly, that needs to be one of those things that, they put on his U of A bio, like on the website. You click on his name, it's like nickname, the Bosnian bulldozer. I would absolutely love that, man. So good stuff. Love it. What do we got here? Angel says long-term development. He's definitely a somewhat future project. Yeah, I think if you're looking for, a starting center or somebody who's playing, big time minutes for you, you probably aren't going to get that here with Elmer right away, but that doesn't mean that he can't help you. I mean, that type of physicality and everything, I think especially in the non-conference, like I said, you get a lead on somebody, or if you're in a game where you're going to be able to coast, I think it's a great idea to get a guy like Dzafic some run, cut your teeth, get your foot underneath you, let the game start slowing down for you a little bit, and take some of the wear and tear off your other big man who you're going to need to play heavy minutes in the super physical SEC. And if you do that and he gets comfortable and he starts making improvements, then, maybe he could be a guy that could give you a rotation or two here or there. If you face a more traditional center, in the SEC or whatever, if you need a body to come in there and box people out, if you need some physicality, like a role could be had. But I think, his best basketball is certainly going to be ahead of him in the future. I'd agree with that for sure. Nick Fuller says, let Kenny Payne work. Let him cook, damn it. Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. That's and Kenny Payne was always regarded as one of the better assistant coaches in college basketball and a good recruiter, and, the players love him and all that. But really, he's, kind of has a niche for being the developer of big men. And I want to see him develop big men. And it doesn't mean that guys like Jonas and, Z or Trevin or, Malik and Nick too, that they can't get better throughout the course of a season under his tutelage, but like give him a project, right? Like give him time, give him a year to really, really work with somebody and see what he can make out of them. Like if you're going to have the reputation as the big man whisperer, give him a big man to whisper to, and let's see what it's all about. And then we'll judge from there. David says, this mean he's good to play for us this upcoming season? I don't know that for sure. Like, I mean, I would assume so, right? The commitment's already made and everything. He's going to have to go through the same processes. Maybe he already has, I have to reach out to some folks over at the U of A to see exactly what that looks like. Maybe he already has his visa. Maybe he already has submitted his paperwork for enrollment and all that. The NCAA, with their eligibility stuff with international players, it's a little bit different because it's international players are not, this is not a new phenomenon in college basketball, but the guys who've been playing professionally and, getting paid to do it for a couple years, that's what's been a little bit different about this. It's become more prevalent since NIL's become a thing, right? So what you're seeing is some of these international guys who've played for 2 or 3 years or more overseas, they're coming over to the US and playing college ball, and they might get, cleared and eligible to play, but they might look at it and say, you know what, like this, it's questionable with the amateur status stuff. We're going to take 1 year away. So you've only got 3 years to play, or we're only going to give you 2 years to play. And you're seeing that in some cases. At the least, he'll be a multi-year guy there for Arkansas. By the way, I just saw Joe Tipton tweet out that John Calipari is out there at the MBPA Top 100 camp for the best, the top 2026 players. JJ Andrews went absolutely nuts out there yesterday in a game. I think he's like 12 of 20 from the field, 30 some odd points. 5-star coming soon, right? I mean, you guys excited about, we're talking about the future here for the few months, but how about this time a year from now? How excited are we going to be about JJ Andrews and what he brings to the table? I'm pumped about it for sure. David says, how the hell do you pronounce that last name? I am assuming either the D or the Z is silent there. I'm going with Dzafic. Maybe it's Dzafic. I think it's Dzafic. And I'm sure we'll get some clarification on that here at some point. I should have just turned the volume up on some of these clips that I've been watching and some of the film that I've been watching. Usually when you score, even you can't understand anything that they're saying because they're, obviously announcing in a different language. They'll say the name and you can be like, oh, okay, there we go. So we'll see. What we got here? Yeah, a lot of people excited. Jeremy Stewart, our guy, Woo Pig Suey. He had a double Woo Pig Suey in here. I think it's worth it. I mean, he's a double size and XXL individual, so I love it. Brandon here says easy front runner for best nickname on the team, right? I mean, don't you think so? Camel Hog is a good point. He says we're hunting for foreigners here. Yeah, I mean they're dipping their toes in international waters, and it's crazy. It's so funny because I think we've probably, man, at least 24 different international players that we've touched on our pod, the pod at the Palace, throughout the course of the last few weeks here. And, like when Igor became a thing for Arkansas, we were like, heck yeah, got him. All right. We're in the right direction here. Elmir Dzafic, I'd never heard of this young man until yesterday afternoon when his name started making the rounds. Like that one jumped on us pretty quick there. But I like it. I like it a lot, Sharkensaw says, bang, deepest roster in the country. And this is interesting because, well, I mean, listen, understand the difference between deepest and best. Kentucky's got the deepest roster in the country. They've got like 95 guys on their team. The problem for Kentucky is every single one of them is at the same talent level. So we'll see how that goes for them. But yeah, slowly but surely here, you feel a lot better about the depth that Arkansas has at its disposal because, like you've got your core 8 right now that we've talked about a ton. But the rumblings around the practice facilities that Isaiah Sealy has impressed. And so that's a guy that you might feel even better about with his potential to contribute early. It's like, all right, that takes you to 9. This big fella, again, is he going to play 30 minutes for you next season? No, but is he somebody who's capable of going in there and giving you a few minutes here and there? Yeah, I think he is. If you make another addition here, which we hope that Arkansas will, with Igor Isaac or someone like him, that would be great. And then all of a sudden, John Calipari does exactly what he said he was going to do earlier. Because when he started talking about that 4-4-2 model of, we're going to have 4 freshmen, 4 returners, and a couple transfers, I was like, maybe they are pretty much done. But, earlier on, when they were going through it during the course of the season and guys were injured and they'd have 6, 7 guys for particular games. And he admitted 9 was a little light. And the number 11 came out of his mouth. It wasn't mine. It was his. And now he's trending towards getting there. And I love it. And it's not crazy. And this is not, it's not going to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm sure that he understands the role that he's going to play here and the other guys do too. And it just adds to the competition. Competition breeds excellence, as iron sharpens iron, if you will. Right. Let's see. Yeah. Listen, Angel says, turn 20 June 8th. Well, see, I saw that. And then I saw elsewhere that January 8th was his birthday. And then literally a half hour before this commitment popped, I saw September 5th. So I don't know. He is an international man of mystery. I saw Gavoni put him down as 19 years old. So I'm going to stick with that for now, but it's the difference in a few months, whatever. Right. Paddlefish says, but can he play the 4? No, no, I would strongly advise against that. But what I will say, Nick Pringle can play the 4 from a defensive standpoint. What I mean is he's switchable. He can guard some of those more athletic guys at the power forward position and be just fine. He not necessarily the best move for him from an offensive standpoint. Malik Ewan can play the 4 offensively because he's a good ball handler, does some really good things in DHO, can operate on the perimeter, even though he's not a shooter and he's a big time offensive threat. So you have a little bit more versatility there. It's just like Jonas and Big Z. I wouldn't recommend playing, a couple centers by trade together for extended periods of time. But they'll be able to mix and match just fine. It gives you a little bit more flexibility to do some of that though, where you really didn't have it when it was just Malik and Nick and Trevin. But I do think that they're going to wind up adding, the help that we're hoping for here at the 4. And then you'll really have some good versatility there for sure. SCT says, can we make him Arkansas tough though? He might already be that. Did you see him? he looks pretty good in there. So I'm excited about it. I really wish that they would post the weight room numbers for some of these guys. Something tells me that this dude can push some weight. I remember a couple years ago, we had, who was it? Layden Blocker, I think it was, that came into the old Natty State offices, and me and Scotty were interviewing him. And we were talking about who's the strongest guy on the team, who's the weight room guy. And it was Lawson Blake. And you could see that because he looks the part. And if you add probably 3 inches, 4 inches of height, and then good grief, 30, 35 pounds onto Lawson Blake, and he's a big boy. Well, then you have Elmir Dzafic. So I bet that he can push some serious weight there. Well put together, muscular build. He's not, doesn't look like he's got a bunch of baby fat left on him. So, hey, Horatio says, does this bump us to a top 10 team? They're a borderline top 10 team anyway. It depends on what you value the most and what you look at. I could see him anywhere between, 8 and 15 or so right now. So I don't know that, he's going to be a back end of your rotation. He's going to be a role player his first year. So I don't think it's the kind of move that takes you into a different stratosphere or anything like that, but it gives you more staying power is what it does, having some depth like that. Now, if they add Razov on top of it, then you'd have a hard time convincing me that this Arkansas team is not a top 10 team. So that's kind of how I feel. I like that Brandon's cracking me over where he says he's probably SEC player of the year, to be honest. Zero overreaction. Yeah, I mean, we don't overreact over here at all, do we? Let's see. Interesting from Corey Dubs. He says, how many games will we see 2 5s on the floor with TB Knox and DJ and Acuff? It's going to depend. But now you're going to have the ability to be somewhat flexible and versatile in there. And it's another reason why I really want them to add another 4-man for the rotation, because I'm 100% fine with Carter Knox playing some at the 4. I am. But what I wasn't crazy about was him having to do it, because it's kind of the way the roster was shaping up, where it's like, you're probably going to have to play him at the 4 every single night in the SEC. And I don't know that's the best thing for him or for Arkansas. Now, if you can do it because you got a matchup that you like, great, go for it, but not because you have to every single night. And, adding some more depth to the front court gives you the ability to be more flexible. How many games do I think we're going to see 2 5s on the floor? I think fairly regularly you'll see that. The question is, how much does it happen? And it's going to be matchup dependent. But like I said, Pringle, a guy who can defend a lot of 4s. And then you've got Malik Ewan, a guy who can give you some good things at the 4 offensively. So you've got a little bit of versatility there. Those guys could play together some. You would really need to make sure that you have plenty of shooting on the floor there in the wings and the backcourt, just to give a little bit of spacing out there and room to operate for sure. John Oliver says, it's going to be hard to get a visa from a country whose athletes are under sanction, barred from international play. Hopefully they have a loophole to use. We talked about that a little bit this morning. Not to get political over here, but there are some hurdles for sure. With a lot of these international players and some from specific regions out there. And that's just kind of the nature of the global climate that we live in and the current administration and all that. But, it just adds to the process there. But I imagine they'll eventually get it figured out. Big Red says Elmer's passing highlights are impressive. I would agree. Yeah, I mean, he's a pretty good passing big man there. JT Hazelwood said, would Vlad Golden be a good comparison? Maybe down the road. And I the thing about Vlad was he moves really well for his size. He kind of turned himself into a guy that could really serve as a rim runner, do some things in transition, could keep up with the speed of the game a little bit. That's the one area I'm not certain on. And I've watched a total of like 45 minutes worth of film on Elmer. So, it's not like I've been watching him for years and I've watched every game that he's played or whatever. I think that's the main difference right now. But from a size and strength standpoint, I think you got some similarities there. Back to the basket skill standpoint, I can see it. And my question is, how much fleeter of foot can he get and more explosive, because he can go up there and dunk it with power, but it's getting off the feet quick is something that I'm really looking for there. Patrick Yankee says, he will let this guy play 4 to 6 minutes a game, a real game changer. Hey, but you know what? If he's playing 4 to 6 minutes a game, that's 4 to 6 minutes less that your other guys have to play. Again, it's kind of like we said with Arkansas's top 8, and it was like, hey, is that enough for Arkansas to go to win a national championship or whatever? And my thought process has been, if you take Arkansas's top 8 and put them on the floor on any given night against anyone else, I like their chances. They're going to be right there in the thick of it. But is it enough to get you through a 31-game regular season? And you see some of the non-conference opponents that are lining up, and you know what the SEC brings night in and night out, 2 different games a week. And it's attrition. It's a grind. It wears on you. It's a gauntlet. And then you got the SEC tournament. And then you got to make a deep run in the NCAAs. And we even saw Arkansas overcame it against St. John's, but they ran out of post players there towards the end of the game because of the fouls and all that. The less wear and tear you can have, the better. The more depth you can have, the better. And that doesn't mean things won't tighten up once you get down the stretch of the season and in the big games and everything like that. But as a general rule, you would like to have more bodies available who can go out there and give you minutes here and there, learn the trade and get better over the course of the season. I think that's what we have here. Let's see. Sharkansas. We appreciate the super chat, buddy. He says, I've got an important question. Does he have that Eastern European funny guy gene? It's needed. We'll find out. Hey, listen, wouldn't it be an interesting twist if you have a 7 foot, 265 pound man who wound up being the class clown? Sign me up for it. Sign me up for it for sure. Aaron White. Yeah. He says this guy's nowhere close to the level that Igor would be. This screams emergency minutes in case of injury or massive foul outs only. Again, I mean, this is not a situation where you're taking Dzafic over Igor Razov. That's what you have to understand here. Arkansas could have used more depth at the 5 anyway. Most teams across the country have more than 2 options at center on their roster. And yeah, I agree. Like this doesn't close the book for me. On Arkansas's offseason, I think you still need to get that guy who can come in and be in your rotation and brings a lot of different things to the table, but they're 2 completely different players, different positions. And I think I know that this chat was a little bit ago. I think we've covered that pretty good, but I would encourage you not to view it in that way. I mean, Arkansas needed a developmental big with size and potential, an insurance policy, some more depth. I don't know that I'd say emergency minutes in case of injury or anything like that. But I will agree that I don't think that, you make this signing, then you're immediately saying, boom, man, he's automatically on the, in the rotation. You better watch out, Nick Pringle. Your minutes are in jeopardy here. So I think there's a balance to be had there in terms of how you feel. JT, I agree. We talked about it, man. He says, just assume that every Euro player is fundamentally sound, get him adjusted to SEC athleticism, huge upside, huge being the key word there. Brandon Johnson says the Bosnian boar. That's a good one too. I like bulldozer. The Bosnian boar is good. I mean, there are a lot of different ways that we could go about doing this with the nickname. Maybe he just needs to have multiple, Ozzy says multiple reports on X talking about Cal to the Knicks. Cal was asked about the Knicks and his thoughts on the job. He said it's a good job, said he's going to stay in college. John Calipari is not going to be coaching the Knicks next year. Apparently nobody wants to coach the Knicks, which is kind of crazy. I was surprised that they fired Tibbs. I get it. Like you feel like you need to make, one change or a tweak or whatever to get over the top there. But man, that franchise has been irrelevant for a hot minute now. And they made a nice run last year. And then, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, a 6-game series this year. And, they're just knocking on the door of an NBA championship and they get rid of their guy there. I'm sure there's some other stuff going on, but I do think it's no coincidence that they're requesting to speak to a lot of other sitting head coaches who are saying, nah, fam, I'm good. I'm going to stay put where I'm at. I don't want to come here and make the Eastern Conference Finals and then get fired for my job. So there you go. David says Bosnian big country. I like that a lot. I like it. Just a few more here and then we'll wrap up. I think I was talking to Andrew or texting back and forth with Andrew a little bit earlier. Him and John are on their way to Omaha. And he said he felt like they were going to get there to DJ's dugout, probably somewhere between 12:15 and 12:30. They'll have to do have to get everything set up, the equipment, all that, stretch their legs, go potty, whatever. But I would imagine they'll be going live there for Inside Arkansas Live, which will be cool. And I know they've got the practice day out there at Charles Schwab, and Andrew will be able to get some clips from that, probably talk to some players, DVH, whatever. And so that's good. And when we're getting close to the College World Series here, and I, like I said, I do have FOMO, of not being there right now, but I'm excited to be able to cover this, excited to have the little baby shower event for Michelle and I. And then I'm really looking forward to getting down there to Omaha at the end of the weekend and seeing it out through the end. So the Pod at the Palace is going to be walking around Omaha. So I don't know what that means. I don't know what that's going to look like. Maybe we'll get out there by the stadium, but we'll have some new views to work out when we're out there. Heartbroken Hawk says, can't wait for the updated minutes distribution on Pod at the Palace. I don't think this is going to change it that much, to be honest with you. I would probably, I know somebody said, 4 to 6 minutes or whatever. And that's probably about where I would go for this one, to tell you the truth. right now. Now, again, we'll see how soon he gets here and gets to practice and everything like that. And you can start to get a little bit of a feel for where he's at in the pecking order, the strengths and the weaknesses and where he might fit in. But yeah, I think as of right now, he kind of profiles there as your third big. Nick Lee says we get some beef to draw fouls instead of fouling out with 15 minutes left in the most important game of the year. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to be a guy who draws some fouls. And that's another thing about this. There's something to be said for having an enforcer, right? Because Elmir Dzafic is going to have 5 fouls that he can dish out to somebody else. And you're going to feel them. And with the lack of physicality that Arkansas dealt with in the post, a lot of the time, last season, you think about, and Malik Ewan's a big boy, but Nick Pringle, he's tough, man. He's physical. He's going to hit you. He's going to screen you. You're going to know that you played against him. And now you got a guy like Dzafic who's going to come in there and just throw bodies around. I like the way that sounds too. Give me all the toughness in the world in the paint for this Arkansas team. Let your guards be the finesse guys out there, right? You got Trevin, who is a guy who can just go out there and shoot threes and be the versatile type of versatile center or versatile stretch forward and can switch a little bit and defend the four. He brings you all that stuff, right? But Elmer, he's gonna be the guy who comes there and knocks bodies around, which I like. And Mark Arnold says Curtis, there is more lurking under the surface. Hey, you know how to get a hold of me, my man. Like, yeah, hey, I love you to death. Spare me the cryptics. Like, hit me up. What are you talking about? There's some things going on here with the Razorbacks for sure. And, some scheduling stuff that's going on, a lot of things that's going on. And, we'll see if and when there's more news out there. Let's see what else we got going on. Let me check the noties, see what's rolling. Looks like people are pretty excited about this. Looks like people are excited about it, and I'm excited about it. Arkansas makes an addition. So what's the schedule looking like here moving forward? Just a heads up, I'm going to be flying. I'll be in the air from, I think, about 5 p.m. until about 8 p.m. today. So if anything else crazy happens, if you don't see me go live right away, that would be why, just for the record there. And then we'll have a Friday show that's already pre-recorded and set to go out. And then we'll just kind of react to news as it happens there. Tentatively now, I'm flying Sunday. It's going to depend on what Arkansas baseball does. So if Arkansas baseball loses, which we don't want that to happen, right? But if that happens and they play at 1:00 on Monday, then I'll be in Omaha Sunday night. So I'll be flying through the night on Sunday. If they win, they're in that 6:00 game. I might fly out there Monday morning. So we'll just kind of be all over the place. You'll see a PATP from New York. You'll start seeing them from Omaha. And Friday, you'll see one from right here in this office, and you'll be like, "What the heck? I thought you were on the road." And I recorded it last night. Okay, but it's evergreen. It plays no matter what there. So anyway, I think that'll do it for now. I'm gonna get out of here. Got some last minute packing to do. Maybe I'll see you again here in a little bit. We'll see. But appreciate you guys for tuning in, tapping in as always. Hey, if you're not subscribed to the Inside Arkansas YouTube channel, you got to do it. Okay, do that while you're here. Not just for me, right? Not just for the Pot at the Palace, but everything that we've got going on. The Bombastic podcast with Andrew Ellis, obviously going crazy right now as we got the College World Series stuff, Inside Arkansas Live. We got all this going on. We're going to be all over the place with all kinds of content there from Omaha and following along with everything going on with Razorback Athletics. And obviously, wherever you find your podcast, listen to the audio version, Apple, Spotify, wherever, all of our content can be found there. And we certainly do appreciate your support. So, Curtis Wilkerson, Pot at the Palace, Inside Arkansas. I'm out of here. Appreciate y'all. Hope this is a nice little morning surprise for you. It's been the latest edition of the Pot at the Palace, and we will see you guys when we see you, hopefully soon. Y'all have a good one.